Hello, welcome to the second part of my elevator tutorial. In the first part, what we had done is we had created our elevator actor as well as a button that links to it through an index, which allows us to open and close the door. And now in this video, we're going to stack a second elevator on top of it and switch between floors with camera shake and sounds. First of all, we noticed in the last video that you could open and close the door repeatedly like this. I don't like this. You can leave it if you'd like. It's very easy to fix. And I'll show you how to do that right now. First, we're going to go to our elevator system folder. We're going to open it. We're going to open our elevator. Now inside the elevator, we need to tell the doors to only be able to toggle from the button if the doors are not moving. So, what we're going to do, we're going to go over to variables, and we're going to add one. We're going to name it doors are moving ? Compile and save, and make sure that by default on the right here that the doors are not moving. Now we need to tell our elevator blueprint, on top of checking if the doors are closed, to check if the doors are moving. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a branch here, connect false up, and connect in doors are moving, so that you can only open and close the doors if the doors are moving value is false. Go ahead and compile and save. Now what we're going to do, we're going to move everything over this way. I'm going to hold control and drag off these pins, and then I'm going to set doors are moving to true whenever we start the process. So take both these to true, and then put them into the sequences. Now, what is nice about timelines is that we have an update, which is telling the doors to update every couple seconds from 0 to -90 to give that transition. However, we also have a pin here called finished. And that is what we need because it's going to recognize whenever the animation has finished, we are going to set the doors to not moving. We'll put it here, copy and paste. And then let's just try and make some room here. I'm going to drag finished out into here on both of them. It does look a little messy, so you can double click on the line to create a pin and then just move this up and over here so it's easier to tell where the code is going. There we go. Compile and save. So now when we play, spamming the button shouldn't work anymore. As you can see, the minute that finishes opening, then it allows it to close again. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start to implement the moving floors function. And to do that, we need to go into our content drawer and open our already created elevator interface. And now we need to add a new function. We're going to name it move floors. Compile and save, and then you can close it. Now in our elevator here, we can right click and do event move floors. So now we need something to call this event to start it. So what we're going to do is we need another button, and this one is going to be the floor button. So what we're going to do is open the content drawer. We're going to right click on our door button, and then we're going to choose duplicate. We're going to name it BP_floor button. You can keep it the same color as if you'd like, but just to organize it, I like to make it green. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our materials. We're going to duplicate our red and do M_green. Open it up. Next here in this constant value, we're going to open the color wheel and choose green. Press OK. We're going to click apply and then close the material. And now you should have a green material as well. So now back over here, if we open our floor button, you should see it is exactly the same as the other one. This is completely fine because it's going to use the exact same code. It's going to also locate every elevator in the map and add it to an array, a list of items, and see which elevator is having the same index number to change floors to. But we're going to go ahead and delete toggle doors. And we're actually going to drag out of our array element, and we're going to do move floors. There we go. I'm going to connect that up to true and compile and save. Also, we shouldn't forget to go over here and click on our button mesh at the top left and go over to the material and change it from red to green. Now compile and save it, and that is that button completely done. Now we're going to navigate back to our world and go inside of our elevator. And I like to put my green button about right here. And then we'll flip it 180 degrees. I just like it to be on the other side, but about the same level as the other button. So let's see how high it is. About right there. And then let's move it so it's against the wall. Perfect. Alright. So now just to check if that duplicated properly, what we're going to do, off of move floors, we're going to say print text. We'll leave it as hello. This is just a test to make sure everything is working on your side. So once it says hello there on move floors, we're going to go back, play our game. We're going to open our door, go inside our elevator, and now whenever we look at this button and press F, it should say hello. Yep. So now we know that that function is being called correctly. Go ahead and go back and delete your hello here. Compile and save. And now since we have called move floors, we need to actually code what happens whenever we move floors. So we're going to go to our elevator, and you can close your floor button. Alright, so just a warning here, this code is a little bit messy. I still need to organize it a little bit. However, it does work, and right now it only moves between 2 floors. However, in the next video, we're going to make it that we can move to several floors with different buttons to choose which floor you would like to go to. So first off, we need to add a new variable, and we need to call it elevator is moving, question mark. And now we need to also check if the doors are moving and the elevator is moving, because if the elevator is moving, we don't want the doors opening midway. So we're going to go ahead and grab it, get, compile and save to just check that that value is off by default. And now what we're going to do is we're going to drag off of this and type or boolean, and you should see this. Now what this is saying is if the doors are moving or the elevator is moving, then it's going to return false. Compile and save here. Now we're going to head back down here to our event move floors. We're actually going to go back up here and we're going to copy this branch and this here as well because it's going to be using the same code. Let's go ahead and move this over here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add another branch and connect it up to false. And we're going to connect up to that the doors are closed boolean. And then off of true here, we're going to set elevator is moving to true, since now we're calling that our elevator will be in motion. Probably wondering why I didn't just add doors are closed here as a requirement for the elevator to move. That's because we're going to set it up like how elevators are in real life, that when you press a floor button, then the doors will close themselves and then go. So off of true, if the doors are closed, it's just going to start moving the elevator, but off of false, it's going to realize that the doors are still open, it's going to close the doors, and then connect back and start the process of moving. So what we need to do is we actually need to toggle the floors. So what we need to do is off of false, we need to do toggle doors. Ooh, wrong one. Call function toggle doors. If you see a blue target node here, you know you did it correctly. And actually, let me connect this properly. Disconnect these here. I meant to have the branch up here because I had it that even on false it was still doing something. We're supposed to do nothing. So here on false, we're going to connect up to this branch, move these down, and then connect this up to true. That's what I meant to put down the first time. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put down a delay here after toggle doors. So that way you have a couple seconds where the elevator is about to go into motion and doesn't just immediately start. Now what we're going to do is going to drag up completed into here. So now we have a little loop. No matter what, the elevator will start moving. Just know for your delay, it takes into account the animation for the doors moving, and that was set to 5 seconds for me. So I like to add an extra second to that. So that's 6 seconds total of waiting. File and save. Now what we need to do is that when the elevator starts moving, we're going to add a camera shake and a sound to imply that the elevator is moving. Our elevator is not actually going to move up and down. It's going to be how it is in AAA games, where it kind of tricks you into believing the elevator is actually moving, when in reality all it's doing is causing a shaking sound to mask the fact that you teleported, and then you are going to be teleported to the next elevator. So what we're going to do is off of here, we're going to do spawn sound 2D, and we're going to select the humming sound that was on the link in the last video's description. Now let me just move everything down a little bit here. Now we need to look up camera shake. There's start legacy camera shake. We don't want to do that one. In order to find it, you might have to turn off context sensitive here. And we're going to find start camera shake right here. There we go. Now what we need to do is we actually need to create a camera shake blueprint for this camera shake to follow, and we can adjust how harsh we want the shake to be there. But first of all, we actually need to tell what camera to shake. So what we're going to do is we're going to get player controller, and you can turn back on context sensitive as well. And now we're going to type get player camera. Well, let's turn it back off again, I guess. Get player camera manager. Whoop. Let me do this. Player camera. There we go. It should be this one right here. Now what we're going to do is going to plug in the camera manager into the target. Let's move all these over here. And then we're going to compile and save. It looks like I grabbed the wrong type of player controller, so let me do this. Get player controller under is it this one? Yes. So if you see a green node on the left here, this is the correct player controller that we're grabbing, because the target is the gameplay statistics. It's not the separate one that we just chose. So make sure you get the player controller that has the blue pin and the green pin, and when you compile and save, it shouldn't have an error. So now what we need to do is we need to create our camera shake. So what we're going to do is go to our content drawer, right click anywhere. You can put it in a folder as well to organize it better. Then go to blueprint class. Now we're going to click on all classes, and we're going to type shake. And you should find legacy camera shake. We're going to click on that, select. We're going to name it BP underscore elevator shake. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to open it. And then here on the details panel, we don't need to mess with anything in here. Let's just open up the details. We're only going to mess with the location oscillation. We're going to open that and open X, Y, and Z. Now here in oscillation duration, that's how long the camera shake is going to last. We don't want to set it for any specific time since we could change it later. However, it says that if we change it to -1, then the camera shake is going to indefinitely move until we tell it to stop moving, and that's what we want. So we're going to set it to -1 here. Now we're going to do, on our amplitude, we're going to do -0.1. Frequency, we're going to set it to 30, and our initial offset is going to be random. Our Y is going to be exactly the same, 30, random. However, on the last one, it is -0.4, 30, and random. These are the values that I ended up liking. I could tweak it around later. However, you can change it however you want. This value here is going to adjust the strength, and this here is going to be how frequent it's going to be shaking. So you can just go through and change that as you'd like. Just know it's very small values make a huge difference. So what we're going to do is we're going to go compile and save here, and we can close our camera shake. Now back in our elevator, we're going to go to start camera shake. Under shake class, we're going to choose the one we just created, BP underscore elevator shake. And we're going to compile and save. And just to test it out, we're going to go into our game here. We're going to go ahead and click play here just to open it up and test it out. Now what should be happening is that we open our door, go inside, and pressing the floor button should close the door. And then after 6 seconds, we should hear a hum and camera shake. Yep. Now the issue is that we aren't moving anywhere, and on top of that, as you can see, that's working correctly, that it realizes that our elevator's in motion so the door won't open. Same for this button. So we're kind of locked into this, and we have no stop. But now we're going to set up where we're going to teleport to, and when the elevator knows to stop. So go ahead and exit out of that, and go back into your elevator blueprint. Now back in our elevator blueprint, what we're going to do is we're going to add a delay off of start camera shake. What this delay is, it's going to be our elevator wait time, how long you want it to run before we stop the camera shake, we stop the sound, and then you teleport. So what we're going to do is we're going to add delay, and just to make it easier, you can drag off duration, from its variable, and do elevator wait time. We're going to leave it as a float, compile and save, and you're just going to change the default value to whatever you'd like. In this case, I'm going to do 3 seconds. So our elevator will run for 3 seconds, teleport the player, run for 3 more seconds, and then open. So really, whatever this number is doubled is how long you will be in the elevator. So 6 seconds total. Now what we need to do is we need to find a way to grab our player's floor. So what we're going to do is go to variables, we're going to add a new one and call current player floor. This one is going to be an integer. Compile and save, and we're going to change the current player floor value default to 1. So we're going to compile and save once again. So now what we have to do is we have to write a function to grab what floor the player is currently on and use that. So we're going to go over here to function, add a new one, and do get player floor. So now in here, we need to get player character, get mesh, and finally get world location. Now we're going to go ahead and split the structure pin. Then we're going to go over here and type in range float. We're going to copy and paste 2 of these. We're going to plug in the z value into both the value here. I'm going to go ahead and move these down a little bit. Then we're going to go ahead and add a branch, connect it up to here. Now you may be wondering what this is doing. So basically what it's doing is it's getting the player's location. However, we don't care about the X and Y, only the Z, the up and down location. And then we're going to find where the player has to be considered on floor 1 and where he has to be considered on floor 2. So basically, if they are on floor 1, the current player's location is going to return floor 1. But if they are in the same area as floor 2, then they're going to return in floor 2. But in order for this to work, we actually have to set up a second elevator. So we're going to do that now. Head back to your player map. Now what you're going to do is you're going to click on your elevator, your door button, your other door button, and holding shift the whole time with all of these, then the floor button. You're going to do Control Z, Control V, and then just move this entire elevator up to about here. Now our player has nothing to stand on, so we're going to add in the top left here, shapes, cube, move it to right there, wherever works. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and make a simple little floor for our player to walk on. Just going to move it out here. I'm going to change the snap size to 5 so we can get a little bit more accurate. Here we go. Alright. So that gives us a little platform to step up on there, but we should probably make it a little bit longer. Go ahead and do that. Now normally in your game, there'd be walls and floors separating it, so you would just end up in a new place. You wouldn't visibly normally be able to see the elevator below you, but this works for now. So what we're going to do is we're going to also click add here, go to lights, point light, I'm going to add one down here since it's going to be a little dark and we want to see. Right there. So we're going to hit File, Save All. And now, if you remember correctly, every single elevator is going to have an index where the buttons are going to follow that specific index. So what we're going to do is for this elevator, we're going to click on it. You'll see index, change that to 1 for the first floor. Click the button, change it to 1. Click this button, change it to 1. And then click this button and change it to 1. Now on this elevator here, we're going to click on it, change the index to 2, and do the same for every single button within it. That is saying these buttons only work on elevator 2. File and save all. Now that we have our elevator here, we need to implement actually moving floors. So go back into our elevator blueprint. Then off of false, we're going to get a branch. Then plug this value in to that there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get return. And then what we're going to do is we're going to copy and paste for true over here and plug them both into true. Now the entire point of this function is to grab what floor number the player is on, so we're going to return with that value. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on our return node, and on output we're going to click add, and then we're going to name it floor number and change the type to an index, or an integer, I'm sorry, we're going to change it to an integer. And this is going to be our new floor number. So this code is completely finished. All we need to do is find what minimum and max z value considers the player to be on floor 1 and floor 2. There's a pretty easy way to fix that. If we just go back to our third person map like this, and we need to navigate through our folders here and find our player character. So in my case, it's in third person blueprints, BP underscore third person character. A very, very easy fix. Go inside the first elevator, and then you're going to place the character in there. It'll snap to the floor. Now, if we look over on the right side here at location, we can see the z-axis is 100. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, well, to be on the first floor, they need to be within 100 as a minimum value. Now we need to find the max. So let's just move the player up a little bit into the ceiling. So from 100 to, let's say, 250. What I'm going to go ahead and do actually is change this minimum value to 10, just because some of your player characters could crouch, and that crouching would go beneath the level and wouldn't recognize them on the first floor. So now the first floor is within 10 to 250. And it'll check, are they on the first floor? If they are, we're going to set them to floor number 1. And if they aren't, they're going to check if they are on floor number 2. And if they are, they're on floor number 2. So now we need to do the same thing and find the min and max for floor 2. You can tweak these as much as you like, but we're just going to go into the second elevator, place them here, and do the same thing, where we can see they're at 410 to 550. Now let's go 560. But I'm also going to go back and do the half height, just so we can see if your player is crouching, if it'll still count. So we're going to do this again and move it down until they're about halfway into the floor at about 320. All right. It can be your own numbers. It completely depends on where you put your elevators. I wouldn't copy and paste the same values I just did, because you could have a different space in between your elevators and that will make a difference. So now, back in our elevator, we should have this completed to where it's saying, hey, you get the player character Z location. If they are from 10 to 250 on the Z, they're on the first floor. If they are not, but on 320 to 560 on the second floor, then they're on the second floor. So that's completely done. Go back to our event graph. And now we should have the ability to go over here to our function, get player floor, drag it out, on completed, drag it here, and now we have a floor number. So now what we're going to do is drag out our current player floor and set it, so that we can remember what floor the player is on later for our code. Compile and save there. All right, so now what we're going to do, we're going to make the functionality to switch between floors. Now, like I said before, this will only work with 2 elevators right now. In the next video, we're going to set it up so you can go to whatever elevator floor you would like, and it will send you to that location. But for now, we're just going to flip-flop between 2 floors. So our current player floor, we're going to do equal. Ooh, my bad. Drag off of here and do equal. And then we're going to do a value of 1. So is the player on floor 1? Then we're going to do a branch, connect it up here. And if the player is on floor 1, we're going to set the player to floor 2. So now we're basically saying teleport the player to floor 2. And vice versa, floor 1 if they are on floor 2. Compile and save. Now we can go ahead and do teleport here. However, what would be much easier is to create several functions that allow us to do this. Now first off, what we need to do is we need to translate the floor number to a specific teleport point. So that way we can say they're on floor 2, they need to go to Z here, or they're on floor 1, they need to go to Z here. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new function and call it floor 2 axis. Now the code to floor to axis is pretty simple. All we're doing is we're going to get an input here. So click on floor to axis and do input. We need to get a floor number. And make sure it's of type integer. So from getting a floor number, equal, and then a branch. Then once again, we're going to get another equal right here. We're going to organize it right there. Then another branch on false. Now we're going to say, are you on floor 1 and are you on floor 2? So if you're on floor 1, we're going to add a return node, true. Copy and paste on true as well. So basically what this is saying is that, are you on floor 1? Yes, we're going to return. However, what do we return with? Since our name is floor to axis, we're converting the floor number to an axis. I just realized I spelled floor wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and add the L there. There we go, floor to axis. Now we need to return here. Click on return node, click on outputs, add. We're going to name it Z axis, and it's going to be of type float. So now what we need to do is we need to figure out where to teleport the player to get to floor 1 and where to teleport the player to get to floor 2. So we're going to do the same method we did before. We're going to go back here, drag our player character here. That's 100 on the Z. We're going to go upstairs. That is 410 on the Z. So back here, we're going to do 100 and 410. And we're going to compile and save. Now you can go ahead and take your time to get that all sorted out and figure out your values. However, this is exactly how mine is here. So our floor to axis is complete. We need to go over to event graph. Now here we're just going to drag in our floor to axis, copy and paste. And then here we're going to convert our floor numbers to axes. So it's saying here, oh, you want to go to floor 1? Well, the Z axis on that is 100. And the same thing for the second floor there. So I'm going to do that, compile and save. Now what we need to do is we need to take the Z axis and teleport the player there. Now to save some space, we're just going to create another function that will teleport the player. So go over here to function, new one, teleport player. Now we're going to be inputting a Z axis. So click on it, click on input, and we're going to name it Z axis, and it's going to be of type float. And basically what we need to do is we need to do teleport right here under transform. Now we need to drag off of target and get player pawn right here. Let's move this over a little bit. Now what we need to do is we need to get the player character. And now off of the player character, we're going to do get mesh like we did earlier. Should be at the bottom here. Move that under there. We're going to get the world location and rotation. So get world rotation. Get world location. We're going to split the structure pin of that one. Move this all over here. Now we can plug in our get world rotation to the new rotation, because basically what we're doing is if we teleport the player to a rotation of 0, it's going to be super noticeable and the player is going to snap back to a certain position. But if we get the rotation they were at before and then put them back in that same rotation, then they're going to be looking at the exact same spot and it won't be as noticeable, especially with the camera shake. So now what we're going to do is we're going to plug in everything here. Well, first we need to split the destination location structure pin. We're going to plug in everything here except for the Z, so the X and the Y, and the new Z is where we're teleporting the player. With this method, it is really important that you only place the elevators above each other, but on the same X and Y, because if you don't, then your teleportation is going to be noticeable. Because the way this code works is that it's taking the player's rotation and location and only changing the Z. So if your elevator is not directly above the other one, then it'll be pretty weird looking when you teleport. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get a branch here. And this is going to be checking if the teleportation was successful. So if the teleportation was successful, we're just going to return. However, if it was unsuccessful on false here, just to make it a little bit easier to troubleshoot, we're going to do print text, return back into return because we still want the code to go. Now under the text here, we're going to say teleportation failed. What you can do is change the text color here to red, close it back up, compile, and save. So now we have a function to teleport the player to a new z-axis. So we can go back to our event graph. And on our event graph, we're going to drag out the new teleport player. We're going to do it twice like before. We're going to plug it in and the z-axis. Compile and save. Now we're going to go ahead and add a delay here and connect these up, because now our elevator has ran, it's played the sounds, and it's done the camera shake, it's found our floor, teleported the player to the other floor, and now we need to do elevator runtime again, or elevator wait time, I'm sorry. Plug it into there. Move this over here. Basically, we need to let it run a little bit more and then stop. So what you can do is you can actually delete this and change the duration yourself to whatever value. It's just easier to track this way because now I could just click down here and change the time. It'll change across the board. However, you don't have to do that. So now off of the delay, we're going to be stopping the camera shake, we're going to be stopping the sounds, and then the doors are going to open. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way over here to spawn sound 2D to our return value. We're going to drag off all the way over here, let go, and type set active. And this is setting if this sound is enabled or not. So now we're going to plug it into completed. The new active, make sure that's unchecked. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and organize it. So move this pin up here. We can do the same over here, just so it goes above the code. It's easier to follow. There we go. Go ahead and compile and save. Now we need to also stop the camera shake. So we're going to drag off of the return value of the camera shake and do stop camera shake. And plug it into here. We're going to turn off immediately. We want it to transition into a stop. We don't want it to immediately stop because the elevator would imply that it just went from 5 miles per hour to 0 in 0 seconds, which would look a little weird. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing and organize it here. There we go. Compile and save. Now we're going to get an error here, because we need to select what camera we're stopping shaking, and we didn't choose that as the target. So we can go back all the way over here to our start camera shake and just copy our player camera manager and controller, and then paste it down here, and plug that into the target, and that will get rid of our error when we compile and save. Now we're going to go ahead and add a delay here. And this delay is giving a short delay before the doors open, because the elevator is going to stop, give it a little bit, then open. And I found that 1.5 is a good time. And then after the delay, we're going to set the elevator to moving to not true, because our elevator has just stopped moving. Compile and save. Now we're going to go over off of this and say play sound 2D. And we're going to play a ding sound before the doors open. You can grab your own. The last video had a link in the description that led to this sound. So under sounds, elevator ding. I'm going to choose that there. Now what we're going to do is going to write the code to open the doors of the floor the player is now on, not the old floor. And now what we're going to have to do is we're actually going to have to do the same thing our buttons did and have our elevator blueprint now check over every single elevator in the map and add it to an array. Now I know that we have 3 different blueprints calling the same thing, and in the next video I'll change that and make it a little bit more simple, so now you only have to grab from one thing. But go ahead and either open your door button or your floor button. I'm going to open my door button. We're just going to copy this exact code right here again. Going to copy, Control Z, go back to our elevator, and then anywhere in here we're going to paste it. This is going to show up gray because we don't have an elevator array as a variable, so go ahead and delete that. We're going to drag off of this here, our target array, promote to variable, and call it elevator array. Like I said, the next video will change it to where this will only be done once and we can grab from it. Let's go ahead and compile and save and see if we get any errors. We don't. So now we can go ahead and close our door button again. Back in our elevator, let's go back to the code we were just at play sound 2D. Now we're at the final stretch here, where what we do is we're going to get the player floor again, see what their new floor is. After we get the floor number, we're going to do for each loop. We're going to plug in our elevator array to the array. I like to put it down here. Then what we're going to do is we're going to, on the array element, we're going to get index. Should be at the bottom here. Now off of the index, we're going to do an equal. We're going to plug that into our floor number. Go ahead and move it over here. And then we're going to add a branch. Make that the condition. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do toggle doors. Oop. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do toggle doors off of the array element. Make sure to do call function toggle doors. And that will only be active if it's true. So compile and save. Basically what this is saying is this is grabbing our new floor number. In this case, if we went from floor 1 to floor 2, we are now on floor 2. It's going to say the player is on floor 2, and it's going to open the door to floor 2. And remember, if we go back over here, we set our index to 2 on every single thing here. So now it's saying you're going to open the door with the same index as the floor that you're on. So they should both be 2. And if they're both 2, we're going to toggle the doors there. Now we're just going to go ahead and play this and see if our code works. So now we're going to walk up to this elevator, open the door. You can either close the door and press the green button, or you can just press the green button. Have the doors close. There we go. And that is the end of part 2 of the tutorial. And the next part what we're going to do is we're going to clean up the code and make it that you can teleport to whichever floor that you would like. Right now, we only have 2 floors available, but in the end we can have, I want to say, at least 4 floors. And then we're going to clean up the code, just make it a little bit easier to work with. And we're going to tweak the elevators a little bit. Just going to test this out. So it looks like we found an issue. We're going to fix that in the next part of our video, where whenever we are in a different floor, it's going to go ahead and close the doors to the next floor. All right.